Apple's smart battery case. Is Apple finally admitting that its battery life sucks?
And is Google's family music plan right for your home? Welcome to Vertical Hold, the tech show where we channel surf through the headlines in search of the big picture. I'm Adam Turner, and I'm here with the real inventor of Bitcoin, Alex Kidman. And a woman who needs an extra arm to accommodate all her smartwatches, Jennifer Dudley-Nicholson. Alex, what's new in tech?
For years, nobody's known who the inventor of the cryptocurrency Bitcoin actually is or was. Not only is Satoshi Nakamoto, probably a pseudonym, two publications have come out this week with what they claim is proof that he's an Australian entrepreneur called Craig White. After publication of the articles, White's gone quiet online, deleting his social media accounts and having had his home raided by the federal police, although that's apparently related to tax matters. It's still no clearer if he is or isn't Nakamoto, or if the whole thing is just one big elaborate hoax.
Microsoft is pushing for people who haven't upgraded to Windows 10 to at least upgrade to Internet Explorer 11, with plans to scrap security updates for earlier versions of the browser. Internet Explorer 11 isn't available for Windows XP or Vista, giving the stragglers one more reason to upgrade to a newer version of Windows.
Google's unveiled its latest tablet, the Pixel C. Running on Android, it's designed to join the hybrid crowd of the iPad Pro and the Surface Pro, but at a slightly lower price point. And just like the iPad Pro and the Surface Pro, if you want the Pixel C to act like a hybrid, you've got to fork out extra cash for the magnetically attached keyboard accessory.
Tesla's Powerwall in-home battery is finally coming to Australia, with a 7 kilowatt per hour model designed to reduce your peak hour reliance on the grid, and a 10 kilowatt per hour model designed to kick in during a power failure. Several Australian electricity companies are selling the Powerwall as part of a package deal which includes solar panels and an inverter. You'll pay around 15 grand for a full system.
So, in proper Ocker fashion, can I get a Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Bitcoin?
Oi,
Oi,
oi, oi, oi. Hey, who was that other oi?
That was me, and you went one oi too many.
Yeah, I think it's the lag there. Sorry, that would be Jennifer Dudley-Nicholson, News Corp National Technology Editor and Gadget Guru. We've got coming in live on the satellite. Jen, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
And we're talking about Bitcoin. So it turns out that the person who invented Bitcoin may have been a bit closer to home than we thought.
Look, I like this idea. I like this idea that something has not come out of Silicon Valley. It's actually come out of some random place called Gordon in Sydney. I'm not entirely convinced that it's true because it's got all the hallmarks of a Kaiser Sose from like The Usual Suspects about it. This is not his real name. He's got this Nakamoto real name, and maybe he was renting, and maybe he was going to go overseas in January, and maybe he wasn't, and he's a failed entrepreneur. By the way, he has the best LinkedIn page in the world. If you haven't visited it, I didn't realize that you could do backgrounds on LinkedIn. So, mind blown.
Cool.
This is for the time every 12 or 16 months that you look at LinkedIn, right?
Pretty much. Yeah, when you just amass a critical number of these bloody invitations, and
and then it stalks you. You go down to the shops and LinkedIn pops out from behind the counter and says, "Hi, do you want to be friends with Adam?" It's very full
I don't understand what LinkedIn friends means. Anyway, yes, this guy's got he's in the full tux. It's beautiful. It's just it's a reason to actually go to LinkedIn, which is special in itself.
But
whether this guy has Bitcoin,
the full
I don't
tux
know.
is very. I live not that far from Gordon, and the full tux is very Gordon. Although I've got to admit, if I was going to say who invented Bitcoin, I would not have gone somebody from Gordon. That one was a bit of a surprise.
Yes.
I have seen this suggestion, though, that it's all a bit of an elaborate hoax, possibly even on his part. And I suppose there is part of me that thinks, well, Bitcoin itself matters. Who made Bitcoin now, apart from the fact that they are quite possibly sitting on a small Bitcoin fortune, probably doesn't matter that much.
So are your journo's spidey senses tingling here or something? So you get the feeling that something's not quite right, Jen?
If you were sitting on a small fortune, would you be hanging out in that house, renting that house in Gordon? No offense to Gordon, because I really don't know Gordon from anybody else. But it seems to me like I would have more of a mansion involved in my life if I was the head of Bitcoin.
A bit more of a Kim.com thing happening.
Yeah,
Gordon's not a massively cheap suburb to speak of. But you'd think you'd spend the odd Bitcoin here or there on some of the niceties of life, yeah.
I want a freaking drawbridge. Yes, I want a drawbridge and a helicopter pad. I want something to, land my fanciful craft on.
Think big. I like it. Yeah, I reckon you're very suspicious. All right, so Alex, we have a smart battery case from Apple. Now, there are plenty of third-party battery cases because, as we know, iPhone batteries aren't that great, and Apple doesn't listen when we complain until now. What's going on?
Well, it's all a bit of a surprise because for the first time in a very long time, I'd like to say living memory, there was an Apple product released this week that nobody really had any rumours on. There were no mock-ups on the rumour sites. What's going on? The world has gone crazy.
Like, who thought? Steve Jobs never would have let this happen.
Well, I've seen that argument a few places, but for slightly different reasons as well. But yeah, look, you're not wrong. The iPhone battery life is a bit of a running joke, but anyone who uses an iPhone on a regular basis, especially the 6S, and I should say, the smart battery case is 6S specific. If you've got the 6S Plus, there's no battery case for you. But then again, if you've got the 6S Plus, you probably don't need it quite as much as someone who's got the 6S. You probably don't need a battery case per se for the 6S unless you're really kind of lazy and sloppy and you don't charge your phone a lot like a lot of the population. But it's almost that kind of admission on Apple's part of, yeah, the 6S battery life, it's maybe not what it should be, but please give us $165 to fix the problem and it'll go away with this nice little hunch on the back of your phone.
So what do you think, Jen? Are you impressed with this idea?
Well, it's not the first time I've seen a battery case, let's be clear. This is not a new problem for Apple. Apple has had battery issues forever because they make these beautiful phones and Johnny Ive sits there in his ivory castle or whatever and says, oh my goodness, this is the best looking thing in the world. And somebody says, but is it practical, Johnny? And he goes, shut up.
He slaps them. No, he has people who slaps them for him. He doesn't get his hands dirty.
Well, he never emerges from that white room that they filmed him in. I'm sure he's just trapped in there. He can't find the door.
Well, I'm not surprised, to be honest. I hope somebody's cleaning it for him so it actually does stay white. However, people are so outraged by this battery case, and I don't quite get that because we've seen battery cases before and they've all looked a bit chunky because they have to be. Like, because we haven't shrunk the battery down to nothing, you actually have to have room to put it in. And that's why this thing is the humpback of Cupertino. I actually don't mind it because it doesn't add extra bulk where it doesn't need to. So around the actual edges of the phone, it doesn't have anything until you get to the actual battery bit. It's slapped on the back. I don't mind that. However, I can see that a lot of people who are used to a very specific type of Apple design are kind of outraged by it. And I can absolutely see why people are saying, well, why don't you just make the phone a couple of millimeters thinner and we'll just forgive you for it and move on and maybe not be tethered to the wall the entire time.
Which is what everybody's... But when was the last time you heard someone say, oh, I'm glad the new iPhone's thinner because the last one was too thick? No one ever complains about it.
Just an absolute brick, too heavy to pick up.
Yeah, exactly.
And the first thing they do is put a case on it anyway, which adds a couple of millimeters. Maybe if you just made it a good surface on the back of it that didn't scratch so badly, which they've tried to do, admittedly, and then just added a couple of millimeters, we'll just give you a pass this time, buddy.
Yeah, no, that's crazy talk.
That
apparently
would solve the problem, but I think that the hunch kind of fascinates me, both because of the kind of design thing where Apple is usually so careful about this stuff, but also because every other battery case, adds more bulk because they tend to make the 6 a bit look like the 3, really. You do end up with quite a bit thicker if you throw a Mophie or a similar kind of case on there. But the thing is, you both don't then get the hunch thing happening, and you get the benefit of actually having a decent capacity battery in there. This is the other thing that weirds me out for the smart battery case. They haven't taken the smart step of saying, hey, maybe people want to charge their phones fully from this thing because it won't do it. It's actually got less battery capacity than the phone you're plugging it into. Everyone else's has at least as much, and in a lot of cases, quite a bit more.
So they've gone to all this trouble and still underdone it.
Yeah, it's a bit undercooked in my view, and that is admittedly without having had a whole bunch of hands-on with it. But from the base specs, from what's out there about it already, It's a weird idea in a way because Apple usually never admits that anything could possibly go wrong with its magical products, but it's also something that I think the rest of the market's kind of already done and a bit better.
And have we talked about the price? Because $165 is a whole lot of dollars, especially when it's my dollars. $165, just add a little bit to the phone in the first place and get away with that. I'm pretty sure that you can buy battery cases out there right now for much cheaper.
You're paying them to fix
you
their
can pick
design
up battery
fault.
cases for around $100
Yeah.
that will do exactly the same thing. There are some. The LifeProof have a battery case that's in the same price range, but it's one of their fully ruggedized,
It's
chuck it in the
waterproof,
snow
whatever.
kind of
You can
cases.
send the thing
Snow
to
proof,
Jupiter.
drop
Yeah,
proof. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically it comes down to you paying $165 to fix Apple. You're paying Apple $165 to fix the problem with their phone that they should have just fixed anyway.
You know what though? They're going to sell a ton of them, and I will still not eat my words from this, but still they will sell so many because they're Apple, and they can get away with this stuff.
I wonder. I suspect you're right, but I wonder in this case if they'll sell less than they expect because the design is not quite as classy as Apple generally sells itself, and also weirdly because they're only selling it in 2 colours.
Yeah, I did wonder about that. Just the 2 colour things kind of threw me because I understand, okay, it's a different design, it's a different type of product, and it is a new type of product, along the similar lines of the Apple Watch. We are seeing something new from Apple here, something they haven't done before. But 2 colours, maybe they are just testing the market.
So Adam, Google Play Music has announced a family plan, but this has got nothing to do with contraception and everything to do with music, right?
I don't know, actually. Now you've got me worried. I'm not sure what I've signed up for. Yes, they have announced a family plan. We've been waiting for that for a while. Other services tend to have you can have a second or third account for less, like your RDO, rest in peace, and your Spotify's would be right. We want $12 a month. If you want to add a second person, that'll be another $6 and then $6 after that. But Google's gone down what I think is similar to what Apple's done as well with Apple Music is...
As long as by similar you mean completely identical.
Yes, yes, according to that definition, and said, right, about $12 for you, and then about $20 for you and 5 of your closest friends/relatives. So if you're trying to get more than 2 people, if you want more than 2 people to use this account, then it makes a lot of economic sense to look at these 2, Google and Apple, over the others.
Yeah, it does. And I suppose we should point out that their definition of a family is not something where the nice people from Google are looking through your search results, because let's face it, they know everything about us already, and saying, hang on a minute, they're not a member of your actual family.
That's
These
your
are effectively
second cousin.
just 6-person accounts that you could share around as you like.
Yeah.
And that's got a lot of economic appeal, given that the flat price for a streaming music service is between $10 to $12, depending on who you want to stream with. Pretty much across the market, and obviously that's more down to the record companies than anyone else.
It does seem a little bit strange to me, though, that somebody's going to sign up for this and be the account holder. So maybe it's a bit of a share house mentality, but if you've got one person on the credit card and then all these other people attached, someone's going to get dudded. It's just a warning. I'm putting it out there for people who are taking out this account for their mates.
See, I must be a weirdo. Because
You're only going to get dudded for $6, though. I mean, it's not. It's
outrage.
Yeah, don't be a tired ass, Jen. You're going to spend $165 on a battery case for a phone. You can afford to get screwed on music for your friends.
That's exactly why I need to scrimp. I need to scrimp and save so I can buy my bloody humpback.
So I must be the freak here who actually hears family plan and thinks family. Because I think, my kids are starting to listen to their own music. They're starting to want more than the few albums that we've bought them or what they hear on the radio or whatever. And so I'm starting to think
Have you caught yourself telling them to turn that damned racket down yet?
Yes, I have. Or what the hell is this rubbish? But I don't know if I want them to have
That's gotta hurt.
full access to a music store. But as we're getting to that point when there's 4 of us in the house, it makes a hell of a lot more sense to be paying for Apple or Google than for the others. And when I'm the one who's footing the bill anyway, it doesn't really matter. So when I heard it, I didn't think you and 5 friends. I thought, everybody living under the same roof. But most people seem to talk about it the same way. They don't think about these things in terms of family. It's more how many friends can I share this with?
Oh, look, there's no doubt. If you have a family that likes listening to music and you don't want to have either multiple bills or, for that matter, you don't want to have all of your kids' music preferences turning up in your suggested music lists.
Oh, yeah. That's why
then
Netflix is
there's
good.
some definite appeal here for this kind of thing, and it does cut that price down pretty nicely. That being said, whilst I've trialled Google Play and I've trialled Apple Music, it's not actually the way that I tend to listen to music. But again, I might be a bit of an outlier in this case.
So, Jem, what's your preferred music service?
Yeah, I've actually started embracing the whole streaming era, as it turns out, which is strange. Because I did, like, for a long time, I had, songs on high rotation and then realized I was living in my own little bubble. So I went to Spotify for a while, and Spotify was quite good, and I made a lot of playlists there. But I found that there was a lot of electronic music to the exclusion of all else, especially in their playlists.
Yeah.
So since then, I've gone over to Apple Music, and I also got, full disclosure, managed to get a free 12-month subscription through my Telstra account, which I didn't understand, but somehow I've managed to pull off. And I quite like their curated playlist. However, I find it incredibly difficult to find anything in the app, even though I use it at least 5 times a week.
The Apple Music interface is horrible. It's just painful. So yeah, I know where you're coming from on that one.
There's so much good stuff in there. I'm pretty sure there is. I've just got to find it.
One of the things that I nearly got burnt on is I'm trying out Spotify at the moment, and I think the deal is still going where you can get 3 months of Spotify Pro for 99 cents was the deal that was going the other day. So I signed up for that, and then they wouldn't let me do a family plan. So my wife signed up for a separate account for $1 for 3 months, and I thought at the end we'll close one of the accounts down, we'll merge them together and get the second person half price. And so my brother-in-law said to me, what do you want for Christmas? And I was about to say, give me Spotify vouchers because I'll then use them for this family thing. And I thought, I should look that up. And it turns out if you get Spotify gift cards and give them to someone, if they're on a family plan, they cannot use them. Even though you've got... Yeah, I did not... And I nearly got burnt. I nearly got left holding these cards. It would have been no good to me.
Is it money, though? That makes no sense at all.
I thought
gift cards are not money. This is this common
They can do all kinds of things like that, but
Having said that, it can be very awkward to ask your family members, just give me money for Christmas.
Oh, it can be done. Trust me. I'm not afraid
just keep
to say
putting
that.
it in the sack.
Yes. But I don't know. I don't know if other services, I don't know. I've never bought a Netflix gift card, so I would assume they don't do that. They just go, as you say, money's money, it's credit on your account. But that kind of weirded me out, and I reckon a lot of people must get burnt by that.
Well, certainly, I mean, Apple's setup's kind of weird for this in that if you buy iTunes Store credit or if you buy credit, you can use it for just about anything digital.
Yeah.
When you're talking physical hardware products, they get a little bit pickier. But you can use it for just about anything digital. So I don't think there's a trap there. I'm not sure on the Google Play side whether or not they do or don't accept that. I would be surprised if they didn't. The Spotify one, admittedly, is kind of surprising to me. But then I'm currently in a position where I personally don't pay for streaming services. Not that I'm massively pirating things, because I'm not in favour of that either. I have this slightly old-fashioned approach, which kind of, I guess, fits into your bubble theory, Jen, where I have a lot of the stuff that I would want on high rotation. I physically own these, shiny metal disc things.
On your gramophone.
From the distant past.
Fascinating. I've read about these on Wikipedia.
Old school.
But in order to make sure that I'm not just living in that bubble, I tend to use Pandora.
Yes, I was going to suggest
we're one of the
Pandora
few
too.
markets outside the US that actually has Pandora. And
Pandora
that gives
just seems so random, though, because you've got absolutely... Well, do you have any control over it whatsoever? It just you kind of pick a song and it just goes from there?
You pick a song, it goes from there. You're
You can
allowed a
tweak
certain
it.
quantity of skipping, and you can pay them money for a bit more skipping. But that's it. I like that. If I want, basically, if I want to listen to something in a dedicated fashion, I probably already own it, or I probably want to listen to it enough that I figure I'm going to want to buy it. Now, that's me. That's not everyone.
I like the whole discovery thing of streaming music, though. I like that maybe you'll hear something
And that is
someone's put
Pandora in a
together for
nutshell.
you
You're forced to discover stuff because you don't have a huge jump in control. Having said that, the one problem that Pandora has is that it has nowhere near the licensing agreements that the big players do, so there is a bit more repetition of the same tracks. Having just bought the shattered corpse of Audio, that may well change next year, but we'll have to wait and see on that front.
That's the same with all of them. That's what used to annoy me about Audio, is every now and then I would find half an album, and half the album would be missing, and I couldn't figure out why. I think it's because some of those tracks they had licenses to because they were on a different album or something, but why the hell was I paying Audio for half an album?
I remember when I was using Audio, all of us, like I would get like a Beyonce track, but they obviously didn't have the rights to show the cover art or something. So some like weird karaoke style picture would show up along with a Beyonce song. I'm not really sure what they were up to, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't good.
Audio seems to have suffered from this a bit more than most. I have hit that with Spotify every once in a while when I've been testing it. It's come up with like a full track listing for an album, but it's had like weird little individual bits where it's just like, no, not going to play that one, or that one, or
Not
that
today,
one.
girlfriend.
And I'm guessing it's that in the States or in other markets where they operate, they've got the full license for the whole thing, but whoever got the local rights for it has said, well, you can have these bits for the amount you're willing to pay us.
But I thought that too, so I snuck into US RDO and checked the same album had the same problem. Because I thought, this is rubbish. If I'm missing out because I'm not an American, then I'm just going to get a fake, an American RDO account like I did with Rhapsody and Netflix and everything else. Didn't make a difference. It was still missing. So it's something very fundamental in the way they're doing things. It's not just an Australia thing.
I love that you were both propping up RDO though, that you were living the dream. You saw them come in, you were defending them against, the giants that were Spotify and Apple Music, and it just wasn't enough. There weren't enough of you.
Well, I actually think RDO was here a little bit before Spotify. I was looking back at the stories.
It was.
Yeah, and I started using RDO and didn't move to Spotify because at the time I think RDO it might have been offline caching on your mobile, and at the time Spotify didn't, and that sealed the deal for me. That was the one I was going to go with.
The thing that I found with RDO, and actually this is true for Spotify and true for Google Play and true for Apple, and it's that classic streaming problem that if you've got absolute mainstream, mostly pop tastes, you're probably fine as long as you're not chasing Taylor Swift on Spotify. But if you've got any kind of esoteric out there tastes, you've really got to pick and choose, and there's some stuff that's just nowhere. But I have found that some services and RDO seem to be a little bit better for some of my more esoteric music choices, where an Apple Music or a Spotify just didn't have them or wouldn't surface them. There's still, to my taste, there's still nothing that has everything. And the claims of, we've got 20 million tracks, well, great, but if you don't have the one that I want to listen to right now, what good are you?
I think they're working on that. I think we're getting better over time just because so many people are streaming music now, and it kind of shocks me that we were talking about this 2 years ago and saying, it's a niche product and we're really going to have to work on mobile plans, and we're really going to have to get a lot of education out there, and people are now like, so I've got this on my phone because I'm just streaming it. Like, it's no big thing.
Well, that just about wraps it up for this episode of Vertical Hold. And a huge thanks to Jen Dudley-Nicholson for joining us.
For our very first special guest. Thank you very much, Jen.
I feel very special.
If you've got any comments about this episode, hit us up in the comment section on YouTube, via Twitter, or the Facebook Vertical Hold page.
Thanks for joining us. And remember, if you like what you hear, hit that subscribe button.